Today I'm going to demonstrate how to take an existing app and I'm going to upgrade it with Couchbase Lite and Mantle to include persistence. So Couchbase Lite is a mobile persistence solution, and Mantle is a framework that really what it's good at is transformations. It transforms JSON into model objects and model objects into JSON. So all I've done is I've downloaded this sample app and we can take a quick look at it now. So it's a very simple application. Really all it does is displays a table view and it has a very simple model object. But the key here is this is an existing model object. It has properties on it, it has methods on it, and I want to be able to take this and store it all in Couchbase without doing much work at all. Let me just go ahead and run it once so you can see what it looks like. So very simple table view controller. You click on it and you see details. Not terribly exciting, but I think a good example of a simple MVP or proof of concept app that someone may build and then decide they need to add some more features. Step one is we need to edit the model. We're going to use Mantle because Mantle is going to give us the ability to transform this model object to a dictionary and back from a dictionary to model object. And now I'm going to change it so that the base class of the APL model is MTL model. And I need to conform to the MTL JSON serializing protocol. I just need to implement one method. JSON key paths by property, and this returns a dictionary, and what this dictionary is a mapping of how we want our properties to be mapped to the dictionary keys and the dictionary keys to the properties. It's really a one-to-one mapping because I don't necessarily care that my keys in my dictionary would have a different name than the name of the property, but it's possible in other situations you would actually want it to have a underscore instead of being camel case, etc., and you can handle that mapping here. The first thing I'm going to do is add a new property in the header of our app delegate for our database. And it really doesn't know what this is right now, but that's okay. We'll just forward declare. Now in the implementation of our app delegate, we can see that they were really just creating a bunch of instances of this APL model object, and they're storing it in this products array. And if we scroll down, we'll see then that they're just setting that as the products property on their view controller. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to create a database, and we're going to put all of these objects into that database, then load our table view from that database. So step one is we're going to import the header. Step two, we're going to create an instance of our database. We're going to use our CBL manager, and we're going to use that to give us a database named products. We need an error here. If there's an error, we'll just log that out. So now that we've created a database instance, we need to save our data to the database. So we're going to create a new method called setup initial database, and we're going to take all of this and move it down there. So we'll come back to these errors later. I want to save this data in my database. So the way I'm going to do that is this is all being put in an array called products. So I'm going to just do a for loop and for every product in products. So the first thing I need to do is create a new document. And the way I'm going to do this is by asking the database for a document with ID. If this document exists, if there's a document with this ID, it'll give me that back. If it doesn't exist, it's going to essentially give me a new document. And so we're just going to use the title on our product as our ID for now, because in this case, they are all unique. And this is just convenient. So now I need to save it. Now my next step is that I want to actually convert this model object into a dictionary so that I can easily save it. So I'm going to need the header for Mantle, because now is when I'm going to use one of Mantle's great convenience features. So we're going to use the Mantle JSON adapter to get a JSON dictionary from this object and turn into the properties. Once we have those properties, we can now save our document. And we'll simply put those properties on to the document. If this returned no, saving failed. So now we have a database and we're putting data in it, so time to deal with some of these errors from the code I copy-pasted earlier. Now we're not really going to pass products along, but what might be helpful is we could pass our database along. Let's jump to the view controller and add a property, add database, and now if we go back, instead of passing products, we'll just kind of pass along the database. So one thing I want to show real quick is I just added this kind of off camera, was the idea that I'm going to check to see if I've set up the data before. If not, I'll set up the data. When I'm done setting up the data, I'll set the value so that I will only do this on the first time I launch. So now that we've created our database, we've updated our model, and we've saved our data, we need to retrieve the data. So let's start by going to the table view controller. I'm going to import the Couchbase Lite header. And we'll just add our methods right here. First thing I need is I need a view. So we're going to ask our database for a view. And we're going to give it a name. And then we're going to give it a block, a map block. And so we're going to check to see if it already has one. If it doesn't, we're going to set the map block. In our case, essentially what I'm doing here is it's going to go through all the documents. It's really not narrowing it down at all because I want all the documents. For the key, it's going to pass me ID. For the value, it's going to pass me the doc. And I'm simply going to return the view. The next thing I need to do is I need to narrow my data set down. I'm going to do that with a query. And since products is the array that this table view controller is dealing with, I'm going to create a method that's going to return an NS array from our query. We're going to call this sorted products because we're going to add a little bit of a sort in here. What we're going to do is we're going to create a query, and we're going to get that from our product view. We're going to say create query. So now we have a query, but that doesn't really do a whole lot. We need to actually run the query. And the way we run the query is, we're going to need an error pointer here again. So when we run the query, we're going to get a CBL query enumerator. And all we have to do to run the query is do query run. And we'll pass in our error. Okay, what I'm going to do is run my query, and it's going to return me a CBL query enumerator, which I can enumerate over and get each row and take the value. Because remember earlier in my view, I set the value to be my document. And then I'm going to use my Mantle convenience class to return my dictionary to the model object. Then I add that to the array. And now self.products is equal to self sorted, fix that, products, do a self.table view, reload data. I'm going to run it, see if it worked, and there's our data. So, question is, what if I want to change the sorting on it? We can sort this easily by just adding a sort descriptor. And essentially what this is going to do is we're going to sort by the year introduced instead. We can run again. Now it's sorted by the year introduced. Hopefully that gave you a good idea of how easy it is to get started with Couchbase Lite. And it's a very, very powerful framework that can do a lot in just a few lines of code.